Thank you. I call to order this January 7th meeting of the Public Safety Committee. Can we have a roll call, please?
Alderwoman Sims. Here. Alderman Gould.
Here.
Alderwoman Harder.
Here.
And Alderman Plufka.
Here. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of that agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at it? And is there anybody that wants to make any additions or redactions? Seeing none, the agenda will stand as submitted. The next item on our agenda is citizen comments. If anybody either in the audience or online has any issue with which they want to bring to the attention of the Public Safety Committee, I will give you up to 3 minutes. It is not a forum for conversation, but it is an opportunity for you to make comments. Please state your name and your address.
Stuart Clark, 2331 St. Clair Avenue, St. Louis, Missouri,
Good to
631.
see you. Happy New Year.
44. Happy New Year to you all. Appreciate you serving and coming out this evening and working for the city of Brentwood. While I was watching on YouTube the Board of Aldermen meeting, I noticed that this was going to happen, so I thought I would just come up quickly and offer my assistance, because I know you're talking about e-bikes, and as you all know, I've had a lot of experience on cycling, but especially in the last 10 years on e-bikes. So I've converted all of our bikes to e-bikes, and that includes regular bicycles, tandem bicycles, and trikes and tandem trikes, and some trikes for handicapped people. So what I'm dropping off today, I know that this is probably has a lot to do with young kids out on e-bikes acting a fool and, riding recklessly. And certainly, our law enforcement needs to be able to correct that situation and do something when something happens like that. But sometimes when laws are passed inadvertently, they can affect other riders. And in the case of e-bikes, these are generally people who are a little bit older and who need some assistance in riding. And there's a couple little attributes about e-bikes that I wanted to make you aware of, so you were aware of it. And I know you're going to hear about Class 3 pedal assist bikes, what they call Class 3 e-bikes, which is usually something that says it's under 750 watts. So it has a motor on it that's 750 watts. They generally can go up faster than that. And they only provide motor when you're pedaling, okay? And they don't have a throttle. So I have an e-bike, and it's this Class 3, 750 watt e-bike, but it has a throttle. And the throttle is very important from a safety standpoint, because I've got 2 people on this bike and they need to get the bike rolling. So having an independent throttle is critical for safety. It's also critical for, while we're in traffic, that we have an independent throttle. So I've got a little document here that I'll leave with you all. You can check it when you will. But it says why e-bikes, including those with independent throttles, are safer than regular bikes. So I'm not going to go through it, but you can read it. But it really talks about what I'm talking about. When a bike gets moving, it needs to be stable. And when you're older or heavier, or you have 2 people on a bike, you need to reach that stability so you don't fall over. And having a bike that only assists you when you pedal it as it starts to engage is problematic, and it's really not as safe as being able to, the light changes, you hit the throttle, the bike begins to move, and then you can catch up. Those bikes also assist. As soon as we start pedaling, then you also get some assist with it, and then you can let off the throttle. So keep that in mind when you read about e-bike regulations, that an independent throttle is actually a good thing. I guess the other thing I wanted to leave you with, as I reviewed the state of Missouri laws and everything, is really as it pertains to Brentwood, because when we put in the Brentwood bound area, remember, we built a 10-foot wide shared use path on the south side of Brentwood Boulevard. Very critical. And now we have crossways. So yesterday I was out on my bicycle and on my e-bicycle, and when I went to cross Manchester Road, I went up to the traffic flashing crossing area It's not a red light, as you know, it just flashes. And it was to get off by the kitchen conservatory. And I stop there and slowly edge out into the traffic way until someone sees me, and then they stop, and then everybody stops, and it's great. But it's really, really important. But what's more important is that there's a 10-foot wide shared use path on the south side of Brentwood Boulevard. So we don't want to restrict the use of bicycles because that's so important, because without that, with that, then it allows Nancy and I to, leave our house in Brentwood. We can go by Starbucks, get on our trail system, which we built in the city of Brentwood because we were ahead of our time, and then get on the Great Rivers Greenway and go onto the path and get on that 10-foot shared use path and safely ride. Now, we're not hitting the gas and going 20 miles an hour. Sure, there's limits on that. But so I have another thing that says where you can ride, and it says roads and bike lanes, multi-use paths and trails like the ones that we have, and then also sidewalks. So you want to be careful when you're looking at e-bike restrictions when they say, we don't want anybody riding on sidewalks. Okay, well, sidewalks is really important. They're super important too when you're riding a tricycle, because say you're on a trike, you're a little bit wider, you're a little bit lower, you see some traffic coming either for you or against you, and you say, I think it's be time, I think I'll just roll over here and just get up on the sidewalk. Because at 36 inches, there's room. And then, when you can get back out on the road. So I have these 3 documents: where you can ride, what a Class 3 pedal assist bike is, and why e-bikes, including those with independent throttles, are safer than regular bikes. And I just wanted to bring those up and give them to you guys and think about it. And then if you have any questions about e-bikes, or somebody tells you something about e-bikes and you don't understand it, just call me and, we can kick it around.
Thanks, Stuart. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Abels, A-B-E-L-S. I live at 2015 St. Clair. And like Stu and Nancy, my wife and I have a tandem electrified bicycle, which under the Class 1, 2, 3s would qualify as a Class 3 bike. And we've put, since I installed the electric power on it, we've put 2,500 to 3,000 miles on it. And I've never had an accident where I'd run into somebody or hit a car, so we can operate it very safely. The problem, as I see it, and I see it a lot, is that children, boys mostly, but children in the age range of 4 to 14 are getting on these powered bikes, some of which have the little throttles on them, and they are riding around without helmets, and they were zooming through stop signs. And I see this 2 or 3 times a week over here in the Park Ridge neighborhood. Just about 2 days ago, I was coming up the hill from Brentwood Forest, and there was a young man, I'd say he was 9 or 10. His helmet was hanging on the handlebar because it was, not comfortable, I guess. And he was, doing tricks and zooming around to impress the 9 or 10-year-old girls who were riding their regular bikes. I have seen our next-door neighbors have younger children. They don't have the e-bikes, but I have seen parked in front of their house a powered bicycle with a throttle. No one over 5 could possibly have used this. 5 was. And, this stuff is getting crazy. So there has to be, and I know you're trying to address this. I've read about the proposed ordinances, and I'm happy to see the way it's moving. But, this is a matter of parenting. I'd like to blame these kids, but, they only do what they know they can get away with. I remember I was a kid sometime early in the last century, and I did that too. We've got to have a law that says when you're 5 years old, you can't go zooming around on one of these things. And when you're old enough to ride an electric bike, and you don't have to be 16 to do it, but when you're old enough to do it, you have to wear a helmet. It's as crazy to ride a bike without a helmet whether it's an electric bike or a standard bike, as it is to ride a motorcycle without a helmet. And I know that's legal in Missouri now too, but you would never see me doing it. So I think that's the key issue you have to address as you look at that Class 1, Class 2, Class 3. Class 1 is the kind of bike where it only has pedal assist, and it has a maximum speed of 20, and pedal assist means that when you are pedaling, the battery in the motor will help you pedal. And as soon as you stop pedaling, it all shuts down. So it really is just an assist. You can't make it go without pedaling it like a bicycle. And I think, frankly, if I had a 10-year-old kid and he wanted to get one of those, I'd get one for him and I'd give him a helmet and I'd tell him if I ever saw him without the helmet riding the bike was going away forever. But so it can be done, but the law you're considering to encourage parents to be a little more involved in these decisions would be good, and would probably save some kid from getting tossed off a bike and getting severe head injuries someday. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name's Sue Cronin, 2645 Salem. Mine's a little different. I was recently aware that we have a sexual offender who lives nearby. My daughter lives on Mary Kay, and this offender lives on Eulalie, which you have to go on Eulalie to get out of Mary Kay. I don't know how far into things you want me to go, other than this gentleman was convicted on 6 counts of female sodomy. He was working at the Kirkwood Massage Luxe when this transpired. The judge issued a 5-year sentence. He served 3 months and was put on probation. So he is now living on Eulalie, and I'm just a little uncomfortable with that. I have a daughter and granddaughter that live, as I said, around the corner. There's a lot of little kids that live right around him, not to mention Mark Twain School. This is not the purview of this, Brentwood, to monitor him or to decide what his sentencing is. I understand that. What can we do to make our citizenry aware that this situation's going on? I will add that in the court documents, it states in the order that this particular gentleman is not to work in a massage therapy setting. Currently, where he is living, his dad operates a business out of the home. He's a chiropractor and a massage therapist. This gentleman is also supposed to be employed. I see him all the time. So I don't know where he's working, and if he's at the home or working out of the home, that is a violation of that order. So anything that anybody can help me with on this, I've got his address. I have spoken to the mayor. I have spoken to Alderwoman Michelle, thank you, about this, so they also have information. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Is there anybody online? Okay. Thank you. I'll close citizen comments and move on to reports of the committee chair. As the chairman, I do not have a report. Alderwoman Sims?
No report.
Thank you. Alderman Gould?
No report.
Thank you. Alderwoman Harder?
Just want to say, I was at the Early Childhood Center today, and Red came, and it was a big deal, and the kids loved it. And Officer Petit was just fantastic with the kids, and the way they asked all these silly questions, and he just answered them so seriously, and it just made my day. It was just wonderful, so thank you.
Number 5, we have a city administrator report. We do not have a report. Thank you very much. Now we're moving on to the department reports. First is the police department. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Under the crime report, I'm kind of being the chief's messenger tonight. He wanted you guys to know that on January 28th, he wanted to do a comprehensive year-end crime report. So I'm currently punting that to him. I will tease that crime is down across some of our major categories. The next item would be the retail holiday detail that we deploy from Black Friday until New Year's Eve. That was very well staffed and very well received by the businesses that I spoke to because the officers are so visible. In fact, some statistics during that time in our retail areas, we only had 6 documented shopliftings and 5 arrests were made. And all 5 of those arrests were during the crime was being committed. It wasn't a follow-up. The retail officers made the arrest as the calls came out. Next item would be, we started in December. 22 officers completed training from the 0311 Tactical. They were trying them out for our scenario-based training. I observed 3 of the 4 sessions. I'd say that it's incredibly effective to get some people from the outside to take a look at our officers and see what kind of tactics we're deploying, and the feedback we're receiving has been very good. We have 3 of the employees of the company. 2 of them I know pretty well. These were officers that retired, experienced a lot in their careers, so they have a lot to offer and a lot of advice to give from their experience. Under the PD kitchen update, it was a mild renovation. Full disclosure, my notes say it was not very exciting, but it was under budget, so that's good. And then just a note, so the year end, we're kind of looking at some of the things that happened throughout the year. So there will be 4 chief's letters of commendation to 4 officers, actually from 1 incident. And then we'll eventually be voting on our officer of the year, and both of those items we're going to add to a Board of Aldermen agenda coming up. So any questions?
I actually have one,
Yep.
and it has to do with one of our public comments. The woman that spoke with regard to I'm assuming that she got the information from the registry that's required to
Correct.
be maintained by the state of Missouri. Do you ever get complaints from neighbors suggesting that somebody is violating the terms of their parole? Or if you do, what do you do with that?
Not that often, but
Okay.
typically what I can say is right now we are investigating that's been brought to our attention.
Okay.
So we're currently in contact with that person's parole officer.
Okay.
Basically, the guidance we're given as far as the notification to the public, the state registry just looks at it as the registry's online. That's our notification to the public.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Our fire department? Anybody? Oh, he's online.
Yes, good evening from Orlando, doing a mic check.
Happy New Year, Ed.
Thank you.
You bet.
Again, I appreciate you guys giving some grace. I know this was a pre-scheduled family vacation, but I was able to, the flight was a little early, so I was able to find a soft spot here in the hotel. So basically all I have is the monthly update from the December meeting that was missed. Probably most important of note is the hiring process. As you know, with Chief Cottrell resigning and also have a resignation from firefighter paramedic Cosmos, we have 2 active openings. So we do have a hiring process that we open application period that'll end next Friday. And then we have testing on the 20th, 22nd, and 24th as noted in the document here positions. I anticipate a lot of activity on that, and more than likely an eligibility list in anticipation of perhaps some other retirements and movement later on in the year. So if we do get a list, it'll be a year. It'll be good for a year, so we'll be in good shape if we have any other vacancies. The training tower is progressing as scheduled. We're still on track for occupying that, start using it in the early spring. And then the new fire engine continues also to be on track. The last communication we had, we were supposed to go up to Wisconsin on January 19th for final inspection. I don't think that date's going to be good because we have not heard anything in the last week or so. And I know there's 2 trucks ahead of ours from this region, and those guys are up there right now. So probably by the end of the month, sometime in February, we'll be up there and do a final inspection. The MoGENT section there, I have Mr. Hatley's reviewing some documents that were received from EMSMC. We can anticipate a reduction in the charges for one half of the billing and then an increase in the other. Based on the percentages, it looks like it's going to be a wash. We'll still be collecting the same amount of money, but it'll be charged at different tier levels. So we're going to be continuing to monitor that situation. We are ahead of collections for the year so far for the stuff that I've taken care of since I've been handling billing. And then just as is usual during cold weather, we've had some pretty major recent alarms. One that was in Brentwood was at the mattress firm. We had a vehicle drive through the side of the building. The dude walked away from the accident unharmed, but left a hole in the side of the building. So fire marshal, building official, they're able to act on that pretty quick and then get the business to get open that day. And then we've had some out-of-town fires with Rockville and Webster, just because of the bitterly cold weather, and then some errors in rehabbing the house in Webster. That we had 2 fires in 2 days at that same address, and it was for the same issues. And finally, so the monthly performance measures that we usually give you and that you see in the weekly city administrators report are going to look way different moving forward. The old infra system is being decommissioned at the end of this month, and there's an entirely new platform. I was able to check some of our uploaded alarms yesterday, and calculating performance measures, 90th percentile, breaking out travel times and turnout times is going to be a little bit difficult until we can get the system navigated. But rest assured, we'll get you the data that you need to show that the fire department is meeting the performance measures that we set. With that, that is the monthly update. I'm more than willing to entertain any questions or any comments.
Thank you for the report. Anybody on the committee have any questions for Chief? Go ahead.
I just have one question, Chief. Yesterday there was a lot of conversation about the burning smell that everybody could smell from all over the area because of controlled burns that were happening in Forest Park. Are the municipal departments notified about those, and what kind of communication maybe can we do I'm sure you might have received calls for it, so.
Ironically, no, we didn't receive any calls. We did notice the odor of smoke. Probably the most recent incident of that was over the summer, and that was actually from the wind patterns from wildfires up in Canada and up in Idaho and Montana. Usually, if it's a prescribed burn and it's done by the Department of Conservation, they'll post that on their website, but I don't believe they will notify any entities except perhaps maybe City of St. Louis, wherever the burn is actually taking place. We can certainly monitor that, and I do have a contact at the Conservation Department from Rockwood's Reservation. I can certainly reach out to him and see if there's anything they can do to just notify us if they're going to be burning in the area.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ed, thank you very much. Go enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, I'm at Disney, so you can tell what's going to be happening here tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Public Works.
Have a few department updates for various projects. Manchester Road, the electrician expects to go out anytime during January. There's the control cabinet that's on the north side closer to Dorothy. That's what's controlling the 6 lights that are out on the north side. So basically from Dorothy to what used to be, I think it was like Beautiful Nails, that strip mall that's up on the hillside there closer to Magdalene or St. Mary Magdalene. There are 2 on the south side which did work, and now they don't work. So we just figured when he goes out there, have him look at those, because there's one right to the north on the south side of Manchester, just north of the tunnel. It's one of those decorative lights that runs parallel to Manchester Road. I know that Parks is looking at the other decorative lights that are in the landscape islands, which those are independently controlled. So we should be getting those all squared away. I think that's it for that. Yeah, because there's the damaged light they've ordered, it just hasn't arrived yet. And that's when he'll come and do the cabinet. That's the one over by the self-storage. McKnight Road, we did get an update. It looks like the last component, which are some push buttons, those are what's holding up the order. It looks like February 12th, unless I want to switch to a different push button, which I don't think I do, unless they can show me that everything's the same as what we already have. It did. We're waiting. The solar lights, I'm drafting something with the communications manager, and we'll get that out and just hand deliver like a postcard or something for the folks there on Mary Kay and Douglas. Sidewalk cutting, they already started. So out in Brentwood Forest, I know they did some of the private stuff, and then now they're doing our public areas. So they worked at North Swan Circle and Swallow. I don't know if they finished that. If they did, I know they were going to pivot, go to Renwood, and just start knocking everything out. With this good weather, they think they'll get done in just a few days, and then they'll notify us and send us pictures and elevations and all that. The one thing that's not on here, which I added as a note to myself, we were going to talk about it anyways at Public Works, but there's a decorative metal fence that's on Litzinger Road Bridge. It's on that south side that was damaged. A motorcyclist went through it. So it's an insurance claim. I know we have a fence contractor. He already ordered the panels that go up. He said he's got it on his schedule. It should be completed by January 16th. So once we put the new panels on, get the bill from him, we'll turn it into insurance and get the reimbursement back. And that's it.
Anybody on the committee have any questions? Dan, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yep. Next is the consent agenda. It consists of the meeting minutes from November 19th. Has everybody had a chance to look at them? Would anybody offer any changes? Hearing none, can I get a motion to accept? Do we just accept it, or do we adopt it in any way? Right. So to accept the consent agenda as submitted?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We turn now our attention to old business, and it is the e-bike, mini bike, motorized scooters, and that entire definition of stuff. We have, in my opinion, a really comprehensive ordinance to consider. And so what I guess, should we have introduce this? Should we? Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great. I didn't know if I was supposed to call on you or not, but I knew that you were working with our attorney.
Yeah, so I talked to Jim today a little bit, and I guess to pick up from last time, we were addressing, I guess to jump right in, there was a concern over the park trails as far as we're talking about the mini bikes and the way they're classified. Actually, before I even start there, what do you guys want to jump into first?
So what I was going to ask you is this. So the four areas, main areas that we identified was the fact that the collection of ordinances that we have now made no differentiation between motorized and non-motorized in terms of bicycles and especially electric-powered things.
Correct.
And so one of the areas we saw was that we needed to have age restrictions, and that was one area. Then another area was we needed to have location restrictions and classifying the different roads that this could be on and what we're gonna allow for on everything from multi-use trails to sidewalks to the various types of streets we have in the city. And then there was an effort to see if there would be a way to, in the case of a minor operating one of these vehicles illegally, can we somehow link that to parents? And in terms of fines and things like that. And then last but not least, I think the last one was the fines themselves, whether they could be increased, because I think at the current state, they're $25 fines, I want to say.
Correct, yeah,
okay.
It wasn't much, yeah.
Those are the four areas I remember. Does anybody on the committee have anything else that they, I mean, as a general topic, not necessarily specific?
Oh, no, I
Okay.
mean, I have some specific questions, but.
Oh, okay, okay. So why don't we just take those kind of one at a time, whatever one you want to start with first, and we'll talk about what changes have been proposed, and then, if you don't mind, we'll have a kind of a back and forth about it. Okay. Where would you like to start?
I would like to point out that, so when I talked to Jim today, so the way that these are classified now, and I know some of the concerns from the public, is that the electric bicycles are still functioning like bikes. They're allowed to be on the roadways, they're allowed to be on our paved trails, that's not effective. They're also allowed to be on the sidewalks. Where we get into it, and what I wanted to clarify today was that the way I'm understanding this, and Jim clarified, is that and let me get the term correct, the motorized alternative vehicles.
Right.
So your scooters, your mini bikes, your pocket bikes, the go-karts, the way that this ordinance form is right now, that those are essentially only allowed if the rider is under the age of 17 and has no driver's license, can only be used on private property, like someone's driveway. Like, we're not letting them on the street, and we're not letting them in our parks or paved trails.
Yeah, there, in the definitional section, we identify bicycle, electric bicycle, and then we also identify all three classes, what constitutes class 1, class 2, class 3.
Right.
Similar to what both a couple of our residents brought to our attention during public comment. And then also the electric mobility transportation device, the electric personal assisted mobility device, the electric scooter, and then the, as you say, the motorized alternative vehicle, and then the non-motorized alternative vehicle, just by way of definition. So generally speaking, these changes put the e-bikes, to call them that, all three types in a sort of a different subset category than the other electric vehicles.
Correct.
Or the motorized vehicles.
So your classic, pedal assisted, your electric bicycles, class 1, 2, and 3 are separated from what we've broken down in here as far as electric scooters, motorized alternative vehicles, and then the non-motorized alternative vehicles, which would be things like roller skates, rollerblades, skateboards. Essentially, electric bikes are now their own category, almost like they're protected from a lot of the rules that we're putting in place based on the complaints that we've got over safety. Because the complaints really haven't been centered around, someone on an electric bike. It's the
Then in the types of roads, we identified, we differentiated, I guess is the best way to say it, between residential roads and then the roads that sort of bisect and then border the city.
correct. You're talking about how it's no person shall operate or use an electric MTD, EPA-MD, or non-motorized alternative vehicle like rollerblades and skateboards on our main thoroughfares. Think of like your county roads like Brentwood, Eager, McKnight, and Manchester, unless they're crossing the street in a crosswalk.
Okay. Questions you want to?
Yeah, sure. So the micro-mobility transportation devices are the ones that become the problem areas on our main thoroughfares for children, people that aren't adults, classified as adults. Is that right?
Yes, so your e-scooters, little electric scooters, yeah.
And those are the ones that we're saying are now going to be prohibited on the roadways. They are able to ride a lot of those on sidewalks. Is that right?
Right, those can be on the sidewalks.
Okay. And then I had a question on the helmet laws. So section 375.130 and it shall be unlawful for any individual to operate or be a passenger or on an alternate vehicle just as an alternative vehicle, unless an individual wears protective headgear that is properly fits and fastened securely. Is this consistent with St. Louis County and the state of Missouri helmet laws, or is this an additional?
Additional ordinance, it'd be our own ordinance?
Yeah, that is our own ordinance that we've come up with.
I actually don't know. I'd have to refer to Jim on that. But I'm,
Question.
Because I think
don't
whatever
wanna
we do
speculate
should
or
be
assume
consistent
from
with the
them,
state
yeah.
of Missouri,
Correct.
essentially state of Missouri, and be at least comparable to whatever our surrounding municipal or county is.
Pertaining to helmet.
Yeah, pertaining to helmets should be similar or almost the exact same language. So I just want to make sure that whatever we're passing isn't some,
but I can either look at our municipal code currently under this, or I could look at,
I can,
yeah. And then the only other question that I had was on, oh boy, where are we? In the parks regulations, under skateboarding, which is, I think it's under skateboarding, split into two different things here, but in L, but then at the very end, it says use of gas-powered or electric mini bikes, mini motorcycles, pocket bikes, go-karts, electric skateboards, one-wheel, self-balancing electric skateboards, and self-balancing hoverboards, or hoverboards, are prohibited in city parks, including sidewalks, pathways, and trails within the city parks. To me, electric skateboards, one-wheels, hoverboards, I don't really see a problem with those in our parks, on our trails. I mean, that's where you want the kids to be, and usually the kids are with their families and so I just want to kind of make sure that we're not being too restrictive or legalistic about these, and I agree with some of the public comment that, you can't legislate parenting. Sometimes it's just about, people being better parents with the concerns that we have. So I just want to make sure we're not over legislating our park areas to where, now the police officers have to decide, do I go and, cite this kid who's just having a, fine time with their family? I just don't want to inadvertently put a bunch of laws in there. So I'd like to check into that first.
what section was that?
Well, it's in the Parks section,
yeah,
which,
Parks L is what you're
yeah,
talking.
Parks L,
Let
which
me
is
read it again,
pretty,
Raquel.
so section, where is it? 225.40,
Yeah.
item
park
L.
rules. Okay.
And it's at the end, which is weird because it's kind of in
Okay.
a skateboarding, or I guess skateboarding and use of alternative vehicles. So I just want to,
And it's L?
L, yeah. Again, I think our biggest concerns are residential streets that have a lot of high traffic, that have kids that are unattended with, they don't have parents with them, and they have no helmets, and they're not abiding by any laws. I understand that the reason we want to do something to our ordinance is to make sure that you all have the ability to actually do something about that.
So the
I
way
do-
I read
yeah.
that, the way I read that right now is that they're not permitted on park equipment, pavilions, decks, railings, furnishings, but that they are permitted on the pathways.
Right, they just have to yield.
They just have to yield.
Are prohibited, but it says are prohibited in city parks, including sidewalks, pathways, and trails within city parks. That's the last line that is in that's why it's confusing to me. It seems like we're sort of allowing it in the first part of the ordinance, but then prohibiting it at the end, but.
Unless we got mixed up on our draft. The drafts I have, I think, is the same one where we get to the part where it's
Yeah.
prohibiting them on the playgrounds And on the unpaved park trails, use of skateboard, scooters, roller skates,
Yeah,
bicycles,
right here.
alternative vehicles, yeah, check on
So,
Permitted.
Paved sidewalks, trails is permitted.
Okay, I see. We could tweak it because it does include the hoverboards, electric skateboards, the
Right.
one-wheel self-balancing.
So I'm
Okay.
I'm
I'm
okay
reading
with
it now.
prohibiting gas-powered and electric mini bikes, motorbikes, pocket bikes, go-karts.
Yeah,
We should prohibit those on trails, I get that. But
okay,
that last line seems to contradict what we're allowing.
sure.
Up
Let me make a
above.
note of that. I can let Jim know and we can tweak that. Yeah.
It looks like maybe just taking out a few words.
Yeah, if
In
you
that
take out
last- in
electric
that- in that last
skateboards all the
sentence,
way
right.
to hoverboards,
Right.
you remove that, it
Okay.
cleans it up.
Okay, I get it now. All right.
Sorry, it's,
No, that's okay.
Oh, I know. Yeah. There's a lot of information in this.
yeah, I had to read it several times, but.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or?
The only question I had was, I was going through some of this, they had mentioned the scooters for the disabled, that it kind of went in with the, can't go on the sidewalks and stuff, and I'm like, these poor little ladies that are in the, Schnucks grocery cart or something, I just want to make sure that,
Let me make sure, because then that would fall under, do you know what section you may have
it was
saw?
375.110.
Okay.
If I hit it right, I don't. A lot of quick reading tonight that I.
That no person shall operate an electric scooter on any street, road, or highway in the city. Electric scooters may be operated on any sidewalk, bicycle, or multi-use path. Is that what you're?
No, it was more, I guess it might have been, I can't find where I was, but it said something about no scooters, and that was fine, but I don't want to exclude the disabled.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, 370.
So, and whatever that PAMD thing is a mobility for the disabled, so I just,
Right.
I don't want to be
Electric
discriminative.
personal assisted mobility device, right. Right. Yes.
One of those times where I am grateful to say I'm not the lawyer. Would it be possible for our city attorney to maybe give an executive summary? I mean, I want to make sure we address our concerns that we heard from the public tonight, but
Yeah.
I agree with you, Alderwoman Harder, that I imagine that ADA is probably addressed somewhere. If we could just kind of get an executive summary of these are the main concerns and here's where those concerns are addressed. I think because, I can tell a lot of work went into the drafting this ordinance, and I imagine that the intent was probably to not make it so you can't rollerblade on a sidewalk, and that I think, and just to kind of get, if the lawyer could kind of say, this is really what we're doing. If you want to get into the minutia, like here's the section. I think that would be helpful,
I do too.
rather than us kind of like taking our pens out to subsection 10.
So I can reach out in the context, so I'm sorry to interrupt you.
And so I think that would be helpful if our city attorney could do that. And then my other question was, how do we track with other municipalities? I mean, are we in line? Are we cutting edge? Are we constrictive? Or is this? I get that. I think my observation is one of the reasons why it's kind of comprehensive is because e-bikes, they're all based on our laws are kind of based on combustible engines.
My understanding is we're ahead as far as trying to address it and
right.
break things down. Yeah.
Was there a particular, area we looked to so we weren't cutting for like San Diego, for example? I mean, I don't,
I'm actually not sure.
I know that I know he shared with me that he took a number of ordinances from other municipalities and then didn't cut and paste because he found
We never
number
do
of
that.
them didn't quite, well, they didn't quite really fit
Lawyering's way
us.
more nuanced than
Yeah,
that.
but he did look at other sources to try to come at some. So what I can do in the form of a kind of a rationale to him is I can send him an email and say, the committee has a concern about helmet laws. Can you answer that question? And then in the larger context, can you provide us an executive summary of, just sort of annotating
Yeah.
this section saying, here's what my thought was when we said this.
Tell
Here's
me where this is happening in this.
right.
Hard to read. I think you
Right.
need to have kind of a trained eye to read these kind of ordinances. And I just think I think that would get everyone up to speed in a
When-
very effective way.
When the definitional section gives me a headache,
Yeah.
I know
Right?
that I'm in over my head. Right. So yeah, I can absolutely ask for that.
That would be.
Yeah. And then we can print it out. Okay, well, does anybody have anything else specifically that they've read to this point that they want to discuss? If not, I'm gonna take the Alderwoman's suggestion and move on to the next thing here.
I mean, do we feel like that with some of that clarification, does it need to come back to this committee, or is it something we feel like?
It probably does.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it probably does. And then, so generally speaking, we didn't really touch on the other two things. We did touch on the, so the age restriction. Does anybody have a philosophical problem with the 17,
Can you just give me the high level of why 17 was chosen?
Actually, 17 might have just been a sleight of tongue. It's driver's license.
Okay, so 16.
Yeah. So in my mind, I'm thinking a juvenile, and I probably said 17, but as far as the way this is written, you need a driver's license.
And it's
So you could be, yes.
tied to that, okay.
So anything under
Tied to
under
that,
16, well, yeah, I mean, that, so what if, if somebody's not, so basically it's not an age thing, it's more age plus driver's license. So if somebody's over the age of 16 but doesn't have a driver's license and you see them driving erratically, then does that mean that, I mean, I guess that's the question, right?
Well, I mean, so I know that was, tying it to the license had a sort of a safety underpinning to it. The idea that to get a license, you have to have passed,
Street
you have to have some familiarity with street signs and things like that. And then you also had to be, because there's also a thing in here about hand signaling and, and things like that. And that's the kind of stuff you'd learn, in driver's ed, to get your license. So,
If you are an adult and you've, let's say, lost your driving privileges, but you need to get to work, I mean, how does this
good point.
addressed?
Or if you're 15. You're 15 and you pass the driver's written test and you're practicing, you still know all the,
Okay,
Sure, I think,
this is question.
I think on those two, I think we're just kind of getting in the weeds and moving away of what we're after here, which is the concern of the young operators on these little electric scooters.
I mean, I guess
Yeah.
I don't know
But I
how
mean,
much
it's
of a
fair to ask, yeah.
much of a population, but if you've lost your driver's license or you don't have the ability to drive a car, I don't think that necessarily means if you're an adult that you can't drive an electric bike.
Right.
Question.
It wouldn't stop you from being on an electric bike. Period. You can ride a bike because the electric bike is classified as a bicycle.
And so the age, the minor status, or like,
That has to do with the alternative,
All
the
the other stuff.
motorized
Micro.
alternative vehicles, yeah.
The alternative
Micro
motorized
and,
vehicles all that stuff.
yeah.
okay, well, so then same question for that category. I mean, if saying that if you've lost your driver's license, you can't drive those kind of.
Currently, the ordinance does say that, would say it
Yeah.
that way, yeah.
You can't have it on a city street if you don't have a driver's license.
There's somebody in Canada that
that
was
mean that if I don't
recently
have-
cited for that. They were driving a little
I'm not sure,
Jeep.
but.
Does that mean
yeah.
I'm left with, what is it, 35 cc's I can drive?
Yeah, you'd have to
Like,
get
I'd
a
have to-
bicycle or
I gotta switch
ride
to-
under.
Gas powered at a capped amount. I mean, I feel like that's an unintended consequence.
Yeah, but I think that the way it's currently written, I think that's the way you could interpret it. So maybe that's something we need to address.
I think the overarching concern was kids driving these things.
Wheelies in Walgreens and driving past the, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, can I ask a question? Will there be a campaign to get this new information out to all the parents?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest components of it. If it were to pass and we kind of work out some of these kinks and we get something passed, yeah, it would
I think
definitely
Michelle
be a
could-
social media
Okay.
campaign and yeah.
I mean, because I think that a lot of that has to do with the parents are unaware of it.
Sure,
And
because
they're at work too, and the kids get on the bike and, play around.
Right. Anybody else? Okay, so with that in mind, I will, I'll put something together. I'll copy you guys in, but I'll send it to Jim. And we'll on.
I guess I do have one,
ahead.
on the question of communication, on these type of things where obviously the ordinance is being developed for young kids in the community, do we ever reach out to the school districts and say, because it will impact kids that are in this district?
Oh, yeah.
Have you
1,000%.
looked at this, or you have these issues? Did we do that with this ordinance?
We haven't, no, we have not notified the school district that we're working on an ordinance like this.
I mean, that might
That-
be,
That's what you're asking, yeah.
since we're not in a position to pass anything up to the board yet, it might be an interesting conversation to have, is
Discussion
just
to
let the
have with
district
kids
know
and
that, hey, we're
families.
working on an issue that's come up in the community that affects the children that are part of the district. See if they have any input.
Thank you very much.
Bet.
Thanks. Moving on, we're gonna move on to number 9, new business. We have none. Last item on the agenda is citizen comments. Is there anybody online or in the room that wishes to address this committee with regard to any issue of public safety in Brentwood? You'll be given up to 3 minutes. Please identify yourself by name and address. Nobody? Okay, nobody here. So I'll declare citizen comments closed, and seeing no other items on the agenda, I adjourn this meeting.